More and more men are leaving the workforce. They are leaving the workforce, especially men, young men in their prime, between the age of 24 to 39, even in their early 40s. They are leaving the workforce, and it's been coming across my timeline for the past 2 years. But now I really want us to sit down, take a look, and understand what's going on. I have my thoughts as to why men are leaving the workforce. Personally, I believe because what it means to be a man before has changed so drastically to what it means to be a man today in 2024. A lot of young men, in my opinion, are undergoing identity crisis. But also the salaries, man, the salaries today that are being paid in general in the West, especially, is not enough to sustain somebody. In most big cities, salaries nowadays, man, it will take half or almost half of your paycheck, of your monthly paycheck. It's not sustainable. But anyway, type in the comment section, what your opinion is as to why men are dropping out of the workforce. But let's take a look at this video by CNBC. So here's the article by from CNBC. More men in their prime working years are neither working nor looking for jobs. Here's why. First off, do you guys believe this though? Do you guys believe this? That more men in their prime working years are neither working nor looking for jobs though. Do you guys believe this? To me, I lean towards not believing it, that they are not looking for jobs. Because I believe the default state of a man is to work. The default state of a man is to be productive. So if they're not looking for a job, it's because either the salary it's crap, the salary is shit, or something else. But again, they're going to tell us why, right? But let's go straight to the video and then we take it from there.
Men have been steadily dropping out of the workforce, especially men aged 25 to 54, who are often considered to be in their prime working years. As of August 2024, 13.7% of prime age men were not working.
Damn. That's interesting for sure.
Compared to just 7.2% in 1954.
So in 1954, 7.2% of men were not working in 1954. And in 2024, 13.7% of men are not working. I mean, gee whiz, man. Things have changed, man. It's not the same economy back then. I mean, back then you had one salary that could sustain a whole family. In 2024, you are even lucky to have a decent salary that pays your rent and two more bills, man. Come on.
The long term.
I just don't want them to paint men as this, bumbling buffoons that are just, crossing their legs and giving up. I'm gonna actually put out there that most men, I'm quite certain, want to work. They just want to be, they just want to work in a decent place, man.
Term decline in labor force participation by so-called prime age men is a tremendous worry for our society, for our economy,
Yeah.
and probably also for our political system.
There's a
Clearly.
surplus of prime age workers who could be.
But I mean, maybe again, I'm at the beginning of this video, but I would have assumed the focus would be young men. I mean, if young men are not working, maybe you want to talk to the young men to understand why they are not working or looking for a job.
Be working and aren't, and that's this puzzling problem.
The unemployment rate for prime age working men sat at 3.4% in August 2024. This number primarily includes those who are unemployed and looking for a job. But about 10.5% of men in their prime working years, or roughly 6.8 million men nationwide, are neither working nor looking for employment, compared to just 2.5% in 1954.
What's surprising is it's not a COVID phenomenon. It's not a recession phenomenon.
And for every prime age man who is unemployed and looking
Yeah.
for a job, there are more than 3, and some years 4, who are neither working nor looking for work.
So what's
Okay.
driving men out of the workforce?
Okay, so now they're gonna talk about what's driving men out of the workforce. Let's listen.
And if left unchecked, what impact will it have on the US economy? Nearly half of prime age men out of the workforce cited obsolete skills, lack of education and training, poor work record, or security issues as a reason
Right.
preventing them from work.
Education is a very important predictor of a prime age man's odds of being out of the labor force.
The
Right.
big impacts are on the non-college educated groups on their ability to enter and stay in the labor market.
Men who are not college educated leave the workforce at higher rates than men who are. At the same time, fewer younger men have been enrolling in college over the past decade.
If you
I
look
heard
at
of
the
that.
geography of where the most prime age men out of the labor force are in particular, they tend to be in places that have experienced manufacturing declines. They used to graduate with a high school education and have good, stable jobs. They weren't glamorous jobs. They were, automobile
Yeah,
factories.
again, we have to keep in mind, like she said, the bulk of the men that are out of the labor force are men who, low skilled. It seemed, and a lot of the low skilled jobs. I know this video is more focused on the USA, but it can apply to the West in general. Um, is that a lot of the work in the 1950s, a lot of this work in 2024 has now been industrialized, automated, has now been automated. The salaries are shit because a machine can replace you. A lot of companies now are just focused more on efficiency than just getting people employed and working. A lot of manufacturing has been shipped out of the USA to other cheaper centers. So if you are not upskilling yourself as a young man, especially, you will be at odds with things like this.
Mines, other manufacturing jobs, but they were respected, they were stable, and they could support a family. Since then, due to technology driven growth, a little bit due to Chinese competition, you've had a lot of manufacturing firms and the places where they were located that were one horse towns become ghost lands, right?
Oh yeah,
Wages could also be a contributing factor.
no shit. Hey guys, guess what? More men in their prime don't want to work because you know what? The wages may be a contributing factor. No shit. Like the salaries nowadays globally are ass. They're ass, man. What are we doing?
Median annual wages for men with a high school diploma have fallen from just over $57,600 in 1973 to $45,000 in 2023,
Yeah.
adjusted for inflation. At the same time, wages for those with a bachelor's degree or more have increased by about $6,300 during the same period. This decline in earnings led to a 44% growth in the exit rate of men without a college degree from the workforce between 1980 and 2019.
I think
Right.
honestly, status plays more of a role than wages. As I said before,
That's a lie. That's a lie. See, and see, this is why I don't like when a lot of these news outlets, instead of interviewing the young people that are dealing with this issue, they are focused on the grown folks. Like she just said, status played more of status is it has a larger pool than wage. That's not true. This mindset is from the old school, and I'm not trying to be ageist or whatever, but you can tell she's coming from a different world altogether. She literally just said, oh, but status plays a bigger role here. No, it's the money. Pay me a decent living wage so that I can work and take care of my bills and not be struggling while working a hard job. At least I want to work a hard job, pay me well or decently.
you had a manufacturing job. It was respected. You were part of a community, breadwinner for your
Yeah.
family. You had organizations like unions or Rotary Clubs.
I mean, I'm not saying she's wrong completely, but I'm just saying in 2024, it's definitely the wage. I mean, status is what it is, but it's the money, madam.
That surrounded your job, and that's gone.
In general, men without children are also less likely to participate in the workforce compared to men with children.
True though. True though. True though. True though. True though. I mean, because when you have kids and you have dependents, and hopefully you're an active father and you want to take care of your loved ones, you will definitely put in the work.
especially men without education or training after high school.
What we have seen is a huge rise in the proportion of prime age men who've never been married, and a very, very significant decline in the proportion who are currently married and have kids at home. And those two trends track closely with the big changes that we've seen about male attachment in the labor force. Correlation isn't always causation, but looking at that correspondence is real important, I think.
Meanwhile, 57% of the roughly 10% of men not looking for work said their physical or mental health was the main reason for not being.
I mean, it makes sense, right? It makes sense. 57% of the 10% of men not looking for work said their physical or mental health was the main reason for not being employed. Bro, it makes sense. I mean, if you're physically not capable, what are you going to do? If especially mental health too, man, especially mental health in men, mental health stability in men is not discussed at all. It's in fact it has no barely any coverage. So I think it's definitely a factor. Makes sense.
Being employed, with 55% citing a disability, serious illness, and or receiving disability benefits.
The
Okay.
whole question about the health and the mental health
Yeah.
of male workforce dropouts is an extremely important and I think concerning one.
I agree because nobody cares, man. Nobody cares about the man.
Distressing proportion of the men who are out of the workforce say they're using pain medications every day.
A 2017
Antidepressants.
research paper estimates that an increase in opioid prescription between 1999 to 2015 led to about 43% of the decline in men's labor force participation rate during that period.
So then you have to ask, what sort of pain are we talking about? Are we
Right.
talking about physical pain? Are we talking about metaphysical pain? There's an enormous amount of depression, mental health challenges that men in this grouping face. Some of this is a chicken and egg question. Did you drop out because you were feeling sad, or are you sad because you dropped out and you're living on the couch?
Unemployment is really terrible for people's well-being. Often people adapt to all kinds of negative shocks. Losing
I'll say this. As men, not being a productive man in the Western society, I mean, even in any society. I'm African. I'm Nigerian originally. I can tell you, man, the essence of being a man is in your ability to produce. So I can totally see how men who are not working will get mentally exhausted. I can see that angle because your natural, a healthy man should want to produce, should want to create something, right? So when you either cannot or you don't want to, there is definitely something there. I'm not saying it's all the time, but most likely there is something wrong metaphysically.
a kid, being widowed, whatever, and eventually kind of come back. But long-term unemployment is one of the worst things in terms of that. So what you have is a kind of scarring effect, and it's worse for men because their identity is much more wrapped up in their role as a worker.
What did I
Men's
say?
declining workforce.
What did I say? What did I just say? I said the exact same thing. A healthy man wants to produce. And she didn't say exactly what I said, but it's tied together.
Participation can potentially leave a lasting impact on the American economy.
It
Right.
means slower growth of the economy, obviously.
Fair.
It means
Fair.
bigger wealth gaps within our society.
It certainly will have an impact on our productivity and probably already is.
But why haven't they spoken to like the young men that are dealing with this? Why? I mean, I get these people are professors and all that fancy stuff, but come on, CNBC, you gotta talk to the 24-year-old boy, 26-year-old man, 30-year-old man on why. Do an interview, do a street interview. CNBC, come on, you can do it.
The US has been experiencing a
Jesus,
severe
man.
shortage in labor, still missing 1.7 million Americans from the workforce compared to February 2020. The McKinsey Global Institute estimates that US GDP could have been $296 to $442 billion higher in 2023 if the country had been able to fill its job vacancies.
Yeah, but also you got to ask yourself what kind of job vacancies, man? Because we always talk about, yeah, there's an increase in job, but are you paying people well? You understand? Like, are you offering, are the benefits good enough? Yeah, yeah, people are not working, but are you incentivizing them to work for you? Are you offering them really terrible wages and terrible working condition? And then talking about, yeah, but we have jobs, but nobody wants to apply. Yeah, what kind of benefits are you offering?
However, some experts suggest the impacts of men leaving or never entering the workforce could be more sector specific.
You need young men coming in wanting to replace those people going out. And so if
Yeah.
men have primarily been in more manual labor, more blue skilled and skilled trades, if they're older and they're leaving into retirement and there's not as many young men coming in,
Fair enough.
both because of declining cohort sizes, but moving in a different direction type of careers, we're going to be losing that sector of productivity.
Despite a steep rise in federal funding, the infrastructure sector,
yeah, because I can guess if it's a more blue collar work where you need physical strength, like plumbing or carpentry, or even as a mechanic, or lifting construction. There comes a point, when you're not as strong, bro, where you're not as tough, and you need young blood to come on in and cover the gaps, especially when the older ones are retiring or moving into a more less physically demanding role. Yeah, that's definitely could be sector specific, and yeah, I hope. Yeah, let's see, man.
hasn't been
Yeah.
able to find enough workers, with
Oh,
the
boy.
construction workforce shortage surpassing 500,000 in 2020.
Damn, 500,000 shortage of construction workers in 2024. I'm not American. I've never been. Is this why you have a lot of immigrants that are accepted into America, crossing the border? Hey, listen, maybe I'm talking trash now. I don't know, but I see the news, right? Is this why a lot of immigrants are just allowed to cross the border? Are immigrants crossing the border? Is that even happening at all? Forgive me if I just open the can of worms. Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on.
We are a little concerned about the impact that inflation is going to have and has had on the movement of infrastructure dollars into the actual productive activity. Having a shortage of men in construction is going to raise a problem.
The trend could have a dire sociopolitical impact as well.
It'll get worse in ways that we would not like. I mean, I think it would lead to more premature deaths, but it will also likely lead to radicalization and polarization, because this is a frustrated, left behind group with no option.
This is such a great point, ladies and gentlemen. Guess what? The people that tend to gravitate towards extremist thinkings tend to be men that are frustrated by their own lives, typically economically, right? Who tend to gravitate towards like terrorist groups or radical organization is men that are poor, that have nothing else to do, but they need an identity. They hate somebody. Oh, it's the immigrants that are coming to take your job. That's why you can't have a job. Oh, it's the blacks. Oh, it's the whites. Oh, it's the Arabs. It's everyone else. It's their fault. It's women. It's the blue. It's the Republican. It's the Democrat. It's the right, left. It's the right. It's the left. It's the middle. These are sweet pickings for not so good groups. If you catch my drift.
Options.
There are problems that government can address and problems
Solutions.
that government
Let's
can't
talk about
address.
it.
So one of the first functions that beats out policy is economic growth. You have a strong economy, you're going to have increased wage structure, and it's going to bring people back into the market.
More than a quarter of prime.
I think it comes back to money, man. Exactly. As you can see, 28% of prime-aged men not looking for work cited insufficient pay as a reason preventing them from working. Yeah. Men want to work. Men want to work. The salary is just shit. The pay is just shit. That's it. Men want to work.
Aged men not looking for work cited insufficient pay as a reason preventing them from work.
There you go.
And nearly half said competitive pay, salary, compensation, and or bonuses was a very important factor when considering whether to enter or return to the workforce.
I just said so.
For the young, better training, skills training, some form of post-high school education, encouraging that, maybe even subsidizing that. I think part of the youth mental health crisis has to do with what's next. What's AI going to do? What am I going to do? Are there any stable jobs? I can't afford college. All those questions all come together. And so models that help them kind of give them a jump start can be really effective ways of intervening. And there are actually now really promising programs in high schools which teach kids financial literacy. They teach them about equitable entrepreneurship. They teach them about how do you foster better mental health as part of the workplace. And it seems to inspire kids to go on to college, right? Because they sort of see a pathway where they didn't see it before.
29% of men out of the labor force said that training and educational programs was another important factor in considering.
Yeah. I think training is going to be good, but I think that it goes back to the first point, like we say, it's the money, man. It's the money, bro. Pay people well, so that they can live, and then they will come back to work. Men, in general, want to work, but we just want to we just want to put our bodies on the line. If you're doing more physically demanding jobs, and mind on the line if you're doing more like mental demanding job, right? But just pay us well so that we can live and take care of our dependents well, or good enough at least.
A return to the workforce.
Because you have some people, they are working hard, they're earning a salary, but they're still living paycheck to paycheck. Come on.
Having the type of commitment from the employer to train and retain and offer upward mobility for workers, I think will be very important. Trying to figure out more about career pathways in the labor market and not just the education side. So how is it that someone moves from first job, next job to best job? How do we help people understand and navigate?
Nearly a quarter of working Americans said they weren't satisfied with their growth opportunities in the workplace.
Fair enough.
Compared to other OECD countries that on average spend 0.1% of their GDP on training their workers.
Yep.
The US spent only 0.03% of their GDP on job training in 2022.
Jesus.
Older age groups, it's tougher.
Do companies care about their workers at all in America? To my American listeners, I know I have a bunch of American subscribers. So hey, Americans, how you doing? But does American companies actually care about employees, man? Spending 0.03 of the GDP on training, man, that's poor, really poor.
Or, you're probably not going to get these guys to retrain, but there are a lot of programs that have largely been pioneered in the UK, much more than here, but we're starting to pick up on them, that literally just try and reboot community activities. They get these isolated people in despair out of their houses. It can make a difference.
Social programs like disability benefits spark contentious debate.
It's very controversial. People have very strong opinions about this. While we don't know why it is happening, we can be pretty clear that the social welfare programs are helping, and the disability programs are helping to finance this situation in a way that was never originally intended.
A 2018 analysis by the Joint Economic Committee found that 64% of prime-age men who aren't working were receiving some sort of government assistance.
So the one benefit that they rely heavily on is disability insurance. One, because they often are unable to work if they have a physical injury or high levels of addiction or whatever. But it also provides health insurance, which is huge.
Very much against the initial intentions of the founders of the program. They've ended up with a perverse situation that too often subsidizes or even incentivizes helplessness and long-term dependence. If we thought about a system in which we had a work-first principle where the incentives were for getting the training and then showing up at the job and then staying at the job, I think we'd be in a lot better place than we are today.
However, some experts remain doubtful about whether altering the benefits program will lead to meaningful results.
I think until we deal with the deeper problem of ill health, ill mental health, these guys aren't going to respond to incentives.
Pay. Everybody is responsible for their brothers. Everybody's responsible for their...
Why are they avoiding salary as if salary is this boogeyman? Man, it's the money. People want better pay for the job, man. That's all it is, especially men. Men want to get paid well so that they can do jobs and live their life and take care of kids and family and mom and dad and everybody and dog and cat. That's all it is, guys. That's all it is.
Neighbors and their friends. And we ourselves as citizens can help to shine a spotlight on this. It shouldn't be America's invisible problem. And the more that we talk about it, the more that we pay attention to it, the closer we get to turning this around.
So there we have it. There we have it. Thank you, CNBC, for the documentary.